Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me on this brisk and bright morning here in Scotland. I've just finished a workshop over in the Highlands, and I've come over to an area in Scotland I used to come to all the time. I used to do workshops over in this section. I just love this area around Pitlochry. So I'm out to get a sunrise alongside Loch Tummel, and the conditions look really good. I've got some clouds to the east. There's a little bit more of a breeze in the loch. You can probably see behind me than I'd like, but I'm going to see if I can work with it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to head off to that section over there and see if I can get a composition looking down the loch with the few clouds that I have over there that might light up. So let's go. Let's see what we can do. Well, when I hiked over to this spot, I was looking down the loch, and there was just a little bit too much wind on the water. So, and wouldn't you know it, all the clouds disappeared. So I'm going to go and switch to my plan B, and I've hiked around to this little tiny bay here. It's very secluded. As you can see, I've got some great reflections. And at this time of the year, especially in Perthshire, it's probably one of the most colorful places in Scotland, I think. Brilliant. I love it. And the wildlife. Fantastic. You're heading the wrong way. You need to go that way. But anyway, color-wise, now we did have some storms come through that stripped all the birch leaves, most of the birch leaves off in this area, and in most of Scotland, it seems. All the birch leaves have dropped. But that leaves the larch that you can see behind me. Now, larch is if you're not familiar with larch trees, they're deciduous evergreen. Evergreen? Deciduous pine tree. So they drop their needles, they change to this brilliant orange, and the other colors in this area are the beech trees and oak, which are now really at their peak, if they're left on the trees after that storm. But there's still quite a bit of color in here. I'm going to go for some really nice reflections this morning. So I'm going to set up on this little bay, and there's lots of nice little details in here, not just the grand scene here of this bay, but there's a tree in the background that's got a really nice shape. Even though it's dropped its leaves, you see the structure of the tree, so that really stands out, and along with the reflection. And there's a little yellow tree to the left of it. But I'm going to go ahead and set up and see what I can get. I was just walking around here, just looking for different compositions, and these birch trees to my right here are really gorgeous, because even though they don't have any leaves on them, it's the structure of the trees that attracted my eye. So let's go around the edge of the loch here, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to do a composition just by the silhouette of these trees. Now, you can see what I mean by the structure of this. This is a great reflection here in the foreground. It creates a really nice shape. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got the 16 to 35 on with a polarizing filter, but the polarizer doesn't really have any effect except maybe to darken down the foreground. When you turn it around, it'll darken that reflection. I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to dial that out. I don't know if I'm going to use it at all. The only thing I would do is probably take the polarizer off, keep the holder on, because I may want to use a grad on this just to balance that exposure out. Now, I said the clouds disappeared. I have some new ones drifting in now, and they're starting to pick up color. So hopefully, yes, they're going to be going in over this. I think it's all coming together. Okay, let's go ahead and go for let's try a 3-stop medium transition Okay, that's good. But the left-hand side of my frame is quite dark. So I'm going to just move this over. If we can put the live view on. I'm just going to bring that in. That's nice. These really strong, dark horizon lines draw your eye into the trees. There's the one on the far bank there that's blending in with that dark background. It bothers me a little bit. I'm going to try and see if I can move around a little bit to see if I can get that clear of the background. I'm not sure. I think I'll probably be in the lock if I do, but let's try it. Now I've moved around a little bit further. It's okay, but there's not the separation. I've got the separation now of these trees, but because of the dark background, it's blending in too much. And I've made a couple of exposures. It's okay. I would rather have a little bit more separation, so I've lowered the camera to get as much as possible. Now these clouds are coming in and they're picking up color, which is really nice. Just make an exposure here, but I think I do prefer the last location. So I'm shooting at f8, quarter of a second, which you don't need to shoot at any other aperture. If you've watched any of my other videos, always choose your optimal aperture. There's nothing here in the foreground that I need any depth of field for. I mean, the reflection's a given. So at f8, that's going to be sharp. If you stop down to f16, you're just only going to soften that image. I know I keep harping on about this, but it is an important aspect of photography. But I'm liking these clouds now coming in. I'm just going to go ahead and make another exposure there. And I think what I'm going to do, and just check the histogram on this. But I think I prefer my other composition. It was a little bit more well-rounded. So I'm going to move back. Let's go. Yeah, I really like that composition. I think what I'll do is I'll put both compositions at the end of the video. You tell me which one you prefer. But I think it's going to be a good day, especially for capturing reflections in the locks. So as the light comes up, I'm going to hopefully get some great shots of these large trees lighting up. And there's a lot of beautiful sections along this lock that, and the nice thing is I'd never see anybody down here. And I think as a landscape photographer, that is primary. To have that peace and tranquility to yourself. I know it sounds very selfish, but I think landscape photographers tend to be a little selfish with locations, don't you? And rightly so. I mean, it's all about enjoying the moment. But I think right now I'm going to concentrate on doing some little details of the trees over here. There's some really nice shapes on this one tree. So let's go ahead and change lenses. I'm going to switch to a 70 to 200 just to crop in and isolate those shapes. Okay, I've got some wind coming down the lock now, so I've got to make these quick exposures just coming in tight on these tree shapes. Some nice shots here of this. Just the structure of these birch trees, it's fantastic. Now, when I'm looking to straighten my horizon, and I've said this before, I think this is one of the essential pieces of kit, a spirit level on the hot shoe. Now, I know many of you have said, oh, why don't you just look in your display? Because when I'm setting up and I'm doing this, I can just straighten this out and I can straighten it straight away without looking into it's another thing to do, going into that display. So it's on there all the time. It's a fluid movement. I've got a few interesting clouds coming in over the trees. But because the lighting is changing so much, as the sun rises to that ridge of the mountains, it's getting brighter and brighter. So my 3-stop medium grad is not doing the job. So I'm going to switch to a 4-stop to bring that tone down, to even it out with the reflection. So I'm going to go to a 1.2 Lee medium, which is a 4-stop. Now, there are a few ripples on the lock now. Clouds are rolling in nicely, and I'm going to get that. That looks great. Just check the histogram. Just coming over a little bit. Might just lower that down. 2/3 of a stop. That looks better. And my stomach's rumbling, so I think it's time for breakfast. So I'm going to come back out and see about doing some shots along this lock again, but getting all the larches lit. Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying this video so far. I did manage to get back for some breakfast, get recharged, and went out to photograph some more locations. Now, if you'd like to see those locations and all the images that I created that morning, just click on the following link, and I hope you enjoy.